Have you ever thought of someone, only for them to call you seconds later? Or stumbled into a situation so perfectly timed, so uncannily aligned with your thoughts, that it felt like the universe was whispering directly to you? These are the moments we call synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that defy the logic of probability. They don't just happen randomly. They feel charged with significance, as though reality itself has a hidden rhythm, and for a brief instant, you've tuned into its secret music. The psychologist Carl Jung, who first popularized the term, described synchronicity as a causal connecting principle. In other words, it's when events are connected not by cause and effect, but by meaning. To the rational mind, these are just coincidences. But to the heart, to the intuition, they feel like signs, like threads in an invisible web tying everything together. Think of the times in your life when synchronicity seemed to guide you. Maybe you were lost, uncertain, and then a book appeared in your path answering the exact question you were wrestling with. Or perhaps you were about to give up on a dream, and suddenly you encountered a person or a message that reignited your determination. In these moments, it's hard not to feel that life is more than random chaos. It's as though we are participants in a grand design, one that reveals itself in subtle winks and whispers. Synchronicities have been recorded throughout history. Ancient cultures often saw them as omens, messages from the gods or the cosmos. A particular bird appearing at a crucial moment, or a dream aligning with waking life, was never dismissed as chance. These were communications, signals from the invisible realm. The modern world, obsessed with data and logic, often dismisses such experiences as statistical anomalies. But if you've ever experienced true synchronicity, you know how hard it is to reduce it to numbers. The timing is too precise, the feeling too powerful. Science tries to frame coincidence in terms of probability. If enough events happen, some are bound to line up in surprising ways. But synchronicity feels different. It isn't just about random overlap. It's about resonance, the sense that your inner world and the outer world are somehow aligned. Jung believed this alignment wasn't random at all. Instead, he suggested that psyche and matter are two expressions of a deeper, unified reality, and synchronicity is the place where they meet. Imagine reality as a vast ocean. Most of the time we sail across the surface, unaware of the deep currents below. But sometimes a current rises, touching the surface, and for a moment, we glimpse the hidden order underneath. That is synchronicity, the surfacing of a deeper connection, reminding us that the world is not separate from us, but intertwined with us. This phenomenon often appears during times of transformation. People report heightened synchronicities when they are falling in love, experiencing loss, or embarking on a spiritual journey. It's as though the universe leans closer during these moments, arranging events like stepping stones to guide us forward. Think of how many stories begin with a chance encounter. A stranger on a train who changes a life, a misplaced item that leads to an unexpected discovery. Behind the curtain of ordinary life, synchronicity works like a hidden hand, pushing us toward meaning. But what if synchronicity isn't just psychological, but fundamental to the way reality works? Some scientists and philosophers suggest that the universe may be less like a machine and more like a network, where everything is connected in ways we can't fully perceive. Quantum physics hints at this interconnectedness. Particles separated by vast distances can appear to influence each other instantly, a phenomenon Einstein himself called spooky action at a distance. What if synchronicity is the human experience of this hidden connectivity, a glimpse into the quantum threads that bind us all? Of course, skeptics argue that humans are pattern-seeking creatures. We are wired to find connections even when none exist. We see faces in clouds, meaning in randomness. Perhaps synchronicity is just our minds imposing narrative on chaos. And yet, if it were only illusion, why does it so often arrive with uncanny timing? Why does it feel so deeply charged with significance? Illusion or not, synchronicity affects us, shapes us, and sometimes changes the course of our lives. Maybe the truth lies somewhere in between. Perhaps synchronicity is both a product of our perception and a reflection of reality's hidden order. Perhaps meaning itself is the bridge, the language the universe uses to speak to us. And when we notice synchronicity, it is less about predicting the future and more about aligning with the present, about being awake enough to notice the threads that are always there. One of the most striking things about synchronicity is how personal it feels. It is not just about events lining up, but about those events carrying meaning directly for you. For example, imagine walking through a bookstore at a time when you're wrestling with a difficult decision. Your hand, almost by accident, pulls a random book off the shelf, and when you open it, the first sentence you read addresses your exact dilemma. The rational mind says, "This is chance." But the deeper part of you feels something else, like you were meant to find it. like the universe itself placed it in your hands. Stories like this are everywhere. Carl Jung himself once told the story of a patient who described a dream of a golden scarab. As she spoke, Jung heard a tapping at his window. He opened it and a beetle, remarkably similar to the golden scarab in her dream, flew into the room. For Jung, this was a turning point in her therapy, a moment of breakthrough where the inner world of the dream and the outer world of reality collided in perfect timing. He saw synchronicity not as rare miracles, but as natural expressions of a hidden order connecting mind and matter. Cultures throughout history have honored synchronicity in their own ways. In ancient China, the I Ching was used to divine meaning from seemingly random events, like the fall of coins or the cracks in a turtle shell. To the ancient mind, randomness itself was sacred, a doorway through which the deeper order of the cosmos revealed itself. Similarly, indigenous traditions often treat animal encounters as signs. To meet a certain bird, or to cross paths with a particular animal, was not seen as accidental. It was a message, a guidepost along life's journey. And then there are the synchronicities that alter the course of history. Think of great discoveries or inventions that emerged not through linear logic, but through chance encounters, accidents or mistakes that turned out to be breakthroughs. Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin because he noticed mold contaminating his petri dishes, something most would have dismissed as random ruin. Instead, it became one of the greatest medical discoveries of all time. Was this mere coincidence, or synchronicity guiding human progress? Artists, writers, and musicians also speak of synchronicity as part of the creative process. A song lyric appears in a dream, only to become the cornerstone of an album. A painter randomly splashes color on a canvas, and suddenly an image emerges that captures their deepest emotion. Creativity itself may be fueled by synchronicity, as if the unconscious mind and the universe conspire to bring forth something new. But synchronicity is not always light and inspiring. Sometimes it emerges in moments of crisis, carrying both challenge and transformation. Many people have stories of narrowly avoiding disaster because of a strange coincidence, missing a bus that later crashes or deciding not to board a plane at the last moment. Others describe synchronicity leading them to confront painful truths, forcing them to change their path. These moments are not always easy, but they often carry the same feeling of meaning, as though life itself is rearranging events to push us toward growth. In modern times, synchronicity has found new resonance in the age of technology. How many times have you thought of someone, only for their message to pop up on your phone, or spoken about a topic with a friend, only for your social media feed to fill with references to it? While algorithms explain part of this, the uncanny timing still feels deeply personal, like the ancient patterns of synchronicity are re-emerging through digital mirrors. Perhaps technology has not erased synchronicity, it has amplified it, giving us new ways to see how connected we really are. Skeptics argue that with billions of events happening every second, coincidences are bound to occur, and humans simply pay attention when those coincidences feel meaningful. But that explanation leaves out the most important part, the feeling. Synchronicity does not feel like chance. It feels alive, intimate, as though reality itself has leaned in close to whisper something meant only for you. That sensation cannot be dismissed so easily. Some scientists suggest that synchronicity could be tied to the way consciousness interacts with reality. The act of observing, of paying attention, might influence the way events unfold. In this sense, synchronicity is not random. It is a reflection of our participation in reality. When we are awake, aware, and open, we notice more connections, more patterns, more alignments. In this way, synchronicity is less about predicting the future and more about recognizing the present, living fully in the now, where meaning is constantly available if we have the eyes and ears to see it. And perhaps that is the true power of synchronicity. It reminds us that life is not mechanical but mysterious. It cracks open the shell of logic and invites us into wonder. It encourages us to trust that there is order even when we cannot see it, to feel guided even when the path is uncertain. Synchronicity is the language of the universe, and the more we listen, the more it speaks. When we dive deeper into the mystery of synchronicity, we discover that it is not just about chance. It is also about perception. The way we see the world determines the patterns we notice. To a person caught up in routine and stress, life may seem random, fragmented, disconnected. But to someone open, curious, and reflective, the same life reveals surprising alignments, moments of clarity, and signs that seem to point the way. It is almost as if synchronicity is not hiding, it is waiting to be seen. In spiritual traditions, synchronicity is often framed as communication from something greater, For some, it is the voice of the universe. For others, it is the whisper of God, ancestors, or guiding spirits. In Hinduism and Buddhism, the concept of interconnectedness runs deep. Every action, thought, and moment is linked in an endless web of cause and effect. From this perspective, synchronicity is not strange at all. It is a natural reminder of the unity that underlies everything. Mystics across cultures have described the same phenomenon. Sufi poets wrote of divine signs hidden in the everyday, while Christian saints spoke of providence guiding their paths through seemingly ordinary events. In indigenous traditions, the world is alive with spirit and nothing happens without meaning. A bird crossing your path, a dream repeating, a meeting with a stranger, all are woven into the sacred fabric of existence. Synchronicity, in this view, is simply life reminding us that we are never separate. Modern science, too, has found ways to brush against the edges of synchronicity. Quantum physics has revealed a world stranger than anyone imagined, where particles can be entangled across vast distances, instantly reflecting each other's state. Albert Einstein called this spooky action at a distance, but to many it sounds like nature itself, speaking in the language of synchronicity. If particles can be mysteriously connected, why not minds, moments, and events? Some researchers have even suggested that consciousness may not be limited to the brain, but may interact with the field of reality itself. In this model, synchronicity is not an external miracle but a mirror, our inner world aligning with the outer world in ways that defy probability. It is as if the universe responds when we pay attention, like ripples forming around a pebble dropped into water. But here's where the mystery deepens. Can we invite synchronicity into our lives? Or is it something that simply happens when we least expect it? Many who study or experience synchronicity believe it emerges more frequently when we are in a state of openness, curiosity, or emotional intensity. When you are deeply focused on a question, struggling with a decision, or reaching for something new in life, synchronicity seems to appear more often, almost like a response to your inner state. This is why synchronicity often shows up during times of transition, when people move to new cities, begin new relationships, or embark on spiritual journeys. The more uncertain and vulnerable we are, the more the universe seems to respond with meaningful coincidences, like breadcrumbs guiding us through the forest of the unknown. Practical ways of inviting synchronicity often involve slowing down and becoming more aware. Keeping a journal of coincidences helps people see patterns they might otherwise forget. Paying attention to dreams, to the words that repeat around you, or to the images that show up in your life can also open the door. Most importantly, it requires trust, not blind faith, but an openness to the possibility that life is richer, deeper, and more mysterious than logic alone can explain. One fascinating aspect of synchronicity is how it seems to shape relationships. Have you ever met someone and instantly felt as though your lives were meant to cross? Maybe you ran into them in the most unlikely circumstances, or discovered an uncanny number of shared experiences and connections. These meetings often feel fated, as though the universe conspired to bring you together. Many lifelong friendships, partnerships, and collaborations begin with just such synchronicities. In fact, synchronicity often plays a role in love stories. People meet their partners in bizarrely unlikely ways, missing a train, spilling coffee, or being introduced by a stranger who disappears from their lives immediately after. When they look back, they realize that if one small detail had been different, they might never have met. Coincidence? Maybe, but it feels like more. That feels like the universe had a hand in it. Synchronicity can also act as a wake-up call. Think of moments when life sends the same message again and again until you pay attention. You see the same symbol everywhere, hear the same phrase from different people, stumble upon the same theme in books, shows, or conversations. At first it seems strange. Eventually you realize it's pointing you towards something important, an idea you need to face, a choice you need to make, or a part of yourself you need to acknowledge. So what do we do with all of this? Should we treat synchronicity as destiny written in stone, or as gentle nudges guiding us toward growth? Most traditions suggest the latter. Synchronicity does not take away your free will. Instead, it expands your vision, offering you signs and opportunities, while leaving the decision in your hands. The universe may whisper, but it does not force. It guides, but it does not command, and perhaps that is why synchronicity feels so precious. It is not constant, not predictable, not something we can demand. It arrives like a gift, sudden, unexpected, perfectly timed. A reminder that reality is larger than our routines, that meaning can emerge from chaos, and that we are participants in a mysterious dance that stretches far beyond what our eyes can see. As we move toward the heart of this mystery, it's important to ask, what is synchronicity really teaching us? Is it proof of some cosmic intelligence, or simply a trick of the human mind searching for order in randomness? The answer might be both. Psychologists argue that our brains are wired to detect patterns even when none exist. This tendency, known as apophenia, is what makes us see faces in clouds or hear hidden messages in noise. From this perspective, synchronicity is nothing more than the brain over-interpreting chance events. Yet, even if that's true, the experience remains powerful. Because what matters most is not whether the coincidence was objectively real, but how it shapes us subjectively. Think about it. When synchronicity happens, it changes the way we feel. It sparks wonder. It pulls us out of autopilot and makes us pause, reflect, and re-examine our choices. It adds texture and depth to life, transforming ordinary events into extraordinary stories. And stories are what make us human. We are meaning-making creatures, and synchronicity is one of the ways we weave meaning into the fabric of existence. But for many, the mystery goes deeper than psychology. Some argue that synchronicity is a doorway to understanding reality itself. If the world is not a machine of random parts but an interconnected whole, then coincidences are not accidents. They are ripples across a unified field. Each thought, emotion, and action vibrates through this field, touching and shaping other parts in ways we can barely comprehend. This idea echoes ancient philosophies that saw the cosmos as a living organism rather than a dead machine. In Taoism, everything flows within the Tao, the great way that underlies all existence. In the Vedic traditions, the concept of artha describes a cosmic order that keeps the universe in harmony. Synchronicity could be understood as the visible sparks of this invisible harmony, the cracks through which we glimpse the hidden architecture of reality. There is also a profound personal element to synchronicity. Often it does not appear in random, meaningless moments, but in times of transformation, when we are standing at crossroads, making big decisions, or seeking direction. It is as if life responds when we open ourselves to possibility. The coincidences that follow may not dictate what we should do, but they illuminate paths we might not have considered. They expand our awareness of choice, reminding us that we are co-creators of our journey. The transformative power of synchronicity lies here. It makes us more conscious. Instead of drifting through life, we begin to notice. We slow down, pay attention, and sense the hidden threads that connect one moment to the next. In this way, synchronicity is less about fortune-telling and more about awakening. It asks us to engage with life as if it were alive, responsive, and filled with meaning. For some, this awareness becomes a spiritual practice. They treat synchronicities as signs, messages, or confirmations that they are on the right path. For others, it becomes a playful exploration, a way to navigate life with curiosity and openness, without clinging to rigid explanations. Whether approached with reverence or lightheartedness, the effect is the same. Life becomes richer, more mysterious, more alive. Consider the countless stories people share. The call from a friend they were just thinking about, the book that fell off a shelf at exactly the right moment, the chance encounter that led to a career breakthrough, the dream that predicted a real-world event. These stories are not rare. They are everywhere, whispered between friends, written in memoirs, woven into the folklore of every culture. They remind us that synchronicity is not a fringe phenomenon, but a universal human experience. And here is perhaps the greatest secret. Synchronicity invites us to trust. Not in blind fate, but in the unfolding of life itself. It teaches us that even when we cannot see the bigger picture, meaning is being woven into our days. It reminds us that uncertainty is not emptiness, it is possibility. When coincidences line up, we feel supported, guided, connected. That feeling alone can give us the courage to keep moving forward, even when the road is unclear. Of course, skepticism has its place. Not every coincidence is meaningful, and not every event is a message from the cosmos. But maybe the value of synchronicity does not lie in proving it true or false. Maybe its value lies in the shift it creates within us, the way it opens our hearts to wonder, sharpens our awareness, and invites us to live more intentionally. In the end, synchronicity is a mirror. It reflects back to us the interconnectedness we sense, but cannot always explain. It shows us that life is not just a chain of mechanical events, but a dance of patterns, relationships, and moments that arrive with uncanny timing. And whether you see it as the hand of the universe, the language of the subconscious, or the poetry of chance, the effect is the same. Synchronicity transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. So the next time life surprises you with a coincidence too strange to ignore, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what might this be showing me? Where is it nudging me to go? And most of all, let yourself feel the wonder of being part of something larger, more mysterious, and infinitely more beautiful than you ever imagined. Because maybe synchronicity is not just a mystery to be solved. Maybe it is an invitation to live with greater awareness, to listen more deeply and to recognize that in the grand web of existence, nothing is ever truly random.